sewing machine works, big picture, is that there's an upper thread and a lower thread. We're going to take care of the lower thread first, which goes on something called a bobbin. We're going to take off our removable storage compartment and open the hinged cover down here, and this is the bobbin compartment, so this is where the bobbin's going to go. We're going to grab this little latch and pull out the bobbin case right here, and inside we will find an empty bobbin. A bobbin is basically like a baby spool of thread. So we're going to take this, set it aside for now. You're going to take whatever thread you're using for your sewing project, and in your removable storage compartment, there are a couple little felt pads, so they kind of look like little white felt donuts. So you're going to take one and put it down on one of these pins sticking up. This is called the spool pin. So you're going to slide that on, and then you're going to take your thread and put it down right on top. So the felt pad just gives it a little cushion and helps it unspool evenly. So if you look at the top of your machine, there's a couple little helpful arrows and diagrams to help you remember how to do this. So you're going to take your thread, and the first place it's going to go is this thread guide right here. So you want to slide it in so it's going right through that metal loop like that. And then we're going to come over here, and we basically want to mimic what is happening in the diagram on the top of the machine. So you'll see the thread is going around this tension disc right here, around to the back, going around it clockwise, and you want to make sure, this is really important, that it goes under this little spring-loaded head right here. You want to feel a little bit of resistance on it when you pull on the thread. Then we will take our bobbin, and if you look at the bobbin, there's little holes on each flat side. So there's really no top or bottom, it doesn't matter, you can just pick one, and we're going to go and thread the thread up through one of those little holes. So we're going in from the inside, so from the inner area of the bobbin to the outside. We're going to hold onto the tail. We're going to take the bobbin and we're going to push it down on this silver pin, which is the bobbin pin. You want to make sure you push it all the way down. If you don't do that, then you might accidentally wind thread underneath the bobbin, which you don't want to do. So make sure you push this all the way down. Last thing to do is to tell the machine we're winding a bobbin. So we're going to pop that pin all the way over to the right, and it'll snap into place. So now we're ready to wind a bobbin. So you're going to hold onto the tail of the thread, don't let go of it, and we're going to push on the pedal. Once you wind for a couple seconds, you can stop and trim the tail of the thread close to the bobbin. Once the tail is buried, it won't come unraveled, and then you can just keep winding it. It'll stop automatically when it's full. You don't have to fill it, but if it's your first bobbin, you might as well fill the whole thing. Once you're done, you'll undo what you did, so you're going to pop that back over to the left, take off your bobbin, and cut the thread anywhere to separate it, and you will have a beautifully wound bobbin. So now that our bobbin is wound, we need to put it into the machine. So your bobbin compartment should still be open from the last time. So that is this part right here, and you want to find the bobbin case, which is that silver piece that we pulled out before. So we're going to hold our bobbin case so that the open side is facing us, and the little finger is pointed up at 12 o'clock. You're going to grab your bobbin that you just wound, and you want to hold it so that it's making a number 9. So if you imagine that the thread tail coming off on the right is like the stem of the 9, you want to hold it that way, and then we're going to drop it right into the bobbin case. And now we need to find a groove that's right on the edge of the bobbin case, and this is really important. You want to make sure that you pull that thread into the groove. So the groove I'm looking at is right there, the tip of my fingernail. You're going to pull the thread under this metal tab and all the way until it snaps into this open space. You want to hear it snap, but you also want to make sure visually that you see the thread right in the center of this open space. That's super important, so make sure that it looks just like this. Once you have it in, you can test that it's in the right way by pulling on the thread, and it should unwind clockwise. Then you know that it's all in, you're good to go. At this point, you can just let go of the thread tail, and we're going to hold the bobbin case by the spring-loaded little latch right here like this. You want to make sure that, again, still that finger is pointed straight up, and you're going to take the bobbin case and push it into the bobbin holder. And the holder has a little notch right at 12 o'clock that matches the finger, so you want to push it in so the finger is lined up with that notch until it goes all the way in, it's seated in there, and then you can just let go and let it hang out while we thread the upper thread. Now we're ready to thread the upper thread on our machine. So before you start, you always want to check two things. You want to make sure that the presser foot lifter is all the way up, so the presser foot is in the up position as opposed to the down position. You want to make sure that is up. You also want to check the take-up lever, which is this silver hook right here, and make sure that that is all the way in the highest position as well. If it's not, or if you can't see it, you can turn the hand wheel always towards you until you see the take-up lever come all the way out the top of the machine. Once those two things are set, then you're ready to go. So we can leave the thread on the spool pin where it was when we were winding the bobbin. We're going to grab the tail, and we're going to start by going through the first thread guide, just like before. The second stop is this metal piece right here. We're going to take the thread and go behind it, and then make sure that it catches in this groove, or in this notch right here. We're going to go down into this little channel. We're going to do a U-turn around the white piece. And then for the take-up lever, we're going to mimic the arrow that's on the top of the machine. So we're going to go from the right side over behind it and then bring it forward. And it's really important that it catches right in the front of the take-up lever. So you want to make sure that you see it in the front of the take-up lever. We're going to bring it down towards the needle, and the last stop before the needle is this thread guide right here. So there's a silver horizontal bar. You want to take the thread, and the easiest way to get it in there is to hold it horizontally and go right above that bar and then bring it down. So it's almost like you're flossing again. The last step is threading the actual eye of the needle. The eye of the needle is down at the point, at the tip of the needle. So we're going to take the end of the thread, and feel free to give it a little trim, a little haircut if it gets fuzzy. You want to thread from front to back directly through the eye of the needle. Then you can take your finger and push the excess to the side so you can grab it with your other hand. And you want to hold that thread nice and neat as you pull it through so it doesn't get tangled or twisted. Now the very last step of threading is bringing up the bobbin thread. So we need to thread the bobbin thread through a hole that's right under the needle. To do that, we're going to hold onto the needle thread with our left hand, and we're going to hand crank through a full down and up of the needle. So you're going to turn the hand wheel towards you while holding onto that thread with your left hand. And you'll see eventually, if you hand crank through one down and up, a loop will pop up right by the needle. And if you don't see it, you can give your left hand a little bit of a tug. Sometimes you need to kind of help it come up. Once you see that loop, you're going to grab it and pull it the rest of the way through. So this is the bobbin thread that just got pulled up by the upper thread. You're going to hold those thread tails together then and just push them both under the foot and towards the back, like this. Then you can close that hinged cover and put your storage compartment back on, and you're all threaded and ready to sew. Our machine is all threaded now, so we are ready to sew. The very first thing we want to do is do a little test just to make sure that our threading is good and everything is good to go. So, quick review. The presser foot, which you raise and lower with a presser foot lifter, when it's up, that's when you're threading. When you're ready to sew, you're going to put it down, and then when you're done sewing, you're going to lift it again. So we're going to take a scrap piece of fabric, we're going to put it under the presser foot with the presser foot up, and then when I'm ready to sew, I'm going to put the presser foot down. I'm going to make sure that my machine is set on a medium straight stitch, so that's the middle straight stitch of the three. If it's not on that stitch, you can just turn the stitch selector dial until it's on the middle straight stitch. That's a good stitch for sewing seams. So now that my thread and my fabric and everything is ready to go, I'm going to push the pedal and sew. So as I go, I'm using the lines to the right of the foot as a guideline to help me sew straight. When I get to the end, I want to stop and look at the take-up lever. I'm going to turn the hand wheel towards me until the take-up lever comes all the way out the top of the machine. That's to raise the needle and just to finish the stitch that your machine is doing so you can pull out your project. I'm going to lift up my presser foot, I'm going to pull my test out and cut it on this little handy thread snipper right there. And then let's take a look at our stitching. So this is how it should look when your machine is all threaded correctly and everything is ready and good to go. You can see there's no loops or crazy stitching on either side. If your stitches look at all like either of these samples, if they're really loopy or they're looking kind of crazy and kind of wonky, then that probably means you need to rethread your machine. So just unthread the top and the bottom, rethread them, and then do another test, and that should solve most of your problems. The way a sewing machine works, big picture, is that there's an upper thread and a lower thread. We're going to take care of the lower thread first, which goes on something called a bobbin. We're going to take off our removable storage compartment and open the hinged cover down here, and this is the bobbin compartment, so this is where the bobbin is going to go. we're going to grab this little latch and pull out the bobbin case right here, and inside we will find an empty bobbin. A bobbin is basically like a baby spool of thread. So we're going to take this, set it aside for now. You're going to take whatever thread you're using for your sewing project, and in your removable storage compartment, there are a couple little felt pads. So they kind of look like little white felt donuts. So you're going to take one and put it down on one of these pins sticking up. This is called the spool pin. So you're going to slide that on, and then you're going to take your thread and put it down right on top. So the felt pad just gives it a little cushion and